challenging those negative thoughts about yourself, right? Asking yourself, where did they come from? Like, who says who? Like, that's my favorite question. Says who? Right? Like, when you feel something like, oh, I'm not good enough for that. Says who? Right? Says
Yeah.
who? And when you think about it, like sometimes when you think about it, like that negative tape that you may hear when you say says who, you might hear your mama's voice, right? Because she always has something to say, right? Says who? Mama, well, I'm not trying to do what she say right now, right? So you reject that, right? Says who? Oh, my fifth grade teacher, she's not in my life right now. So I reject that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Says who? Myself. Okay, well, why am I saying that about myself? A deeper question. But when you have those negative thoughts, I always say ask yourself like says who, says who.
It's your girl Tally.
And it's your girl Nunu. Welcome back to the Inner Voice with Tally and Nunu. This is episode 6, and we are back again, back to back, make back to BIM. Episode 6 is titled "Better You, Better Me." Um, Tally and I have had the pleasure of going through all of the things that we need to go through to get right here in this moment, and you guys have been with us for the fun ride along the way. We started with self-worth and went into some of the things and challenges that we have when we're looking at who we are and the things that we need to work on as people. And then we followed it by our 4-part toxic series where we discuss relationships, family, negative and toxic work environments, and then negative
And
friends. Oh, what about your friends? Can't forget that. So today we have a licensed therapist that's going to work us through all the things that we need to work through uh, to make us better people. So next up will be all of us ready, willing, and engaged, and to bring y'all that heat, right, Tally? That heat.
right, the heat and getting to be our better version of yourself.
So get your notebook, get your pad and pencil. It's time to get to work, guys. Lego.
And I have the honor of introducing our special guest, our distinguished guest, Miss
Yeah.
Angie Crum, a licensed mental health counselor, a self-worth coach, a baker and entrepreneur of Crumb Fusion, and an author of my favorite kids book, Arise, My Beautiful Child.
Yes. Hey, Angie.
Hey.
Oh, we forgot. We went to high school together.
Oh yeah, she's a
Oh
fellow
yeah.
milk.
So we are so excited to have you here. We Chris Tally gave a beautiful introduction for all the work and the things that you are doing. So we were so happy when you say, "Yeah, we'll come on, girl." We was like,
Yes.
"Yeah."
Of course, of course.
um, so I think since we are in a crazy time right now, we wanted to start. We had some questions from some subscribers. We had some things that we kind of discussed that we think would be important questions that we need a licensed mental health counselor and coach to help us out on. So the first one was leading with the pandemic and some of the mental challenges that we had, and we know everyone out there has been experiencing since we've been a year plus into this pandemic. Um, Sally, what are some of the issues that you had?
I've been having a lot of issues. I think homeschooling and going to work has been mentally exhausting to me. And then having to cook, you know what I mean? Like having all that stress, like, you know, like I know that I'm home, but I'm getting up every 5 seconds because there's a kid hungry. Like,
Yes.
And trying to work.
Yes.
For me, the same. Um, the kids being home 24/7. It's like you have no break. There is no start button, there's no stop button. It's 24/7. moodiness, because everyone's kind of going through cabin fever, especially in the beginning of last year. And then everyone resetting their boundaries, you know what I mean? That was kind of difficult. And then depression, feeling a little down because those social interactions that you used to have, you can't have anymore. So help us out, girl, help us.
So all of those things, when you talk about your mental health and talking about a pandemic, like we got a lot of things going on here, right? We have the surface level stuff, like we're all stuck in the house, we can't go anywhere. So that's one. Two, the fact that it is a pandemic, like that's traumatic by itself. The anxiety that comes with knowing that people are out here like dying. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not just a little bit of something. It's not something that's out. It's not a little flu like people try to make it out to be, but like it's something with real consequences, and that this thing is taking out whole families. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the trauma of just that, and then staying in your house, all of that together is layered. And so I think some of it is normalizing the fact that if you're not feeling a little crazy, then there might be something wrong.
True.
Like you might not be human.
Yes.
So the fact that you are feeling it means that you're alive and that you are experiencing something. And so part of that is giving yourself the grace and the permission to feel it. Like it sucks being in the house, period. Like, so you don't have to feel a way about being upset that you stuck in the house because you feel how you feel, and that's always going to be true. Like your feelings are valid no matter what the trigger may be. So you first have to acknowledge where you are, and it's like, okay, I'm stuck in the house, like this sucks, like ugh, right? But then there is stuff that you can do after that, like, okay, so I'm stuck in the house, and there comes that, okay, I've admitted the truth, now what am I going to do about it, because the reality of it is not changing, so what can I do to make the adjustments so that, okay, I'm in the house, well, what can I do to make my house more comfortable for me so that I can be in here? So for me, it's been stupid stuff, like when I do make my way to the store, I buy myself a little plant. I might kill it, but but I'm going to buy it, and then if I kill it when I go to the store the next time, I'll buy another one. Okay. Right.
Right.
So it's the little things. So little things like that too. Everybody having cabin fever, everybody being in the house. One of the things that I always talked about before the pandemic, but I still even more so true now, is there should always be a place in your house that's yours, that you can look at it and be like, this is mine. There should be a piece of everyone in the house somewhere, And so if it's a small space, it could be a little shoebox, like that has your favorite things in it, but there should always be a place in your house that's yours. And so do that. Give everyone a timeout corner. Give everyone their own space. If there's not enough room for everyone to have their own room, that's okay. Give them a little corner, give them a little box, and let that be theirs. Like, this is yours. And when you're feeling overwhelmed and you don't want to be bothered, this is your space. This is what you can go do.
Wow, I didn't think of that. So I can be like, excuse me, kids, don't ask me for that. I'm in my safe space.
Yes. Yes. And the trick too is making sure that they have that same safe space, and as a parent, respecting that too. Because a lot of times, ain't no closed doors in this house.
Check. Yes.
But in this pandemic, go ahead and close the door, because
yes, because I may not want to see you neither.
No.
And then finding, I think too, like bonding more. Like I had to have a conversation today because it's like it exposes you. I think this pandemic has exposed like how well we thought we were doing. You know what I mean? And then we realize we're not, right? So even my kids are just like, my daughter was just saying, like, No, like we need to like be able to talk to each other through this. We need to be able to bond. And I'm just like, yeah, what have I really been doing to bond? Like we play cards, but individual bonding.
Mm-hmm.
And we're both different. So she wants to watch certain things. I want to watch certain things. So I told her today, I said, you said you want to bond more. And I said, okay, find whatever you want to watch and I'll watch it with you since my little shows are corny. Bonding with everyone that you live with too and your family, I think is important in this, crisis because it's like, y'all with each other, shoulder to shoulder, you know what I mean? So it's a good time to relearn, you know what I mean? It pulled all the false mask off, you know what I mean? And now
Mm-hmm.
we got to deal with this in each other and kind of relearn how to. So it's a negative thing that's happening, but I think if everyone puts in the work, um, that we'll come out of this a little bit better people, you know?
Yeah, that that attunement with, especially with kids, I think that's the one thing that does get lost in the pandemic when we're talking about mental health, like understanding the impact that it is having on our children. As adults, if we're struggling to cope, they don't have the experience or, years under their belt to really be able to articulate what's happening, and really be able to express it verbally what's going on, but you can definitely see it in their behavior. So really paying attention and learning how to support them through it too. And just, taking a note like, okay, I'm feeling kind of bad, so I'm gonna do what I need to do for myself, but let me check in with my kids to make sure like they're not struggling either.
And they do like you would think like I'm shook because they're so expressive. They have opinions.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a world where we let our kids have opinions. Like back in the day, we had no opinions.
That's good. That's good. That right
But
there.
like they
Right.
express, they're like, I don't feel well. And I'm like, wow, like okay,
Mm-hmm. You know,
okay.
and for me, one of the battles, before the pandemic, like, oh, too much screen time, you don't want all that screen time, blah 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 blah. But like in sitting down and talking to my son, he was able to tell me like, Ma, like this is the only thing that is really, helping me get through this, like it's and then he was able to tell me like why, it helps him to, he gets to build worlds and stuff like that in his games, and it's just the way he likes to escape, and it's helpful to him. And so as a parent, you have to hear that, because on surface level we want to say, oh, it's going to fry your brain, it's a video game, you need to get off of that. But no, he's telling me that he's using his creativity, he's coming up with these things, he's coming up with ideas and concepts. Like that's what we want ultimately for our children, for them to learn. So listen to what they're saying their coping skills are, listen to what they're saying they need. If they're telling you, "I need space," like back up. That don't mean like, oh no, you ain't telling me that you need space.
Right.
Right.
Like, no,
Pay for the
listen
space
to
around here.
right. This is my house. What you mean you need
It's
space?
my space.
Right. So, those are the type of things to look out for, and just really listen. Listen, don't automatically assume that, your kids is doing something to be disrespectful. Don't automatically assume that the other people in your house are just, being rude and it's personal. What I'm saying? I think
Mm,
that's the one thing to remember. Like, as we're all interacting with each other, remember it's not personal. It's not personal that we're all struggling. And sometimes those struggles could create conflict and chaos in the home. But again, it's not personal.
dang, that's good.
I like also giving my kids mental health breaks. Like sometimes we just take a break. Like if they're like overwhelmed, they'll be like, "Mom, can we all take a break?" And I might call in because we all taking a break. We all chilling today. We all gonna like, sit down and recuperate and think about what happened. Like we're all gonna be together as a family.
That's I ain't never I might have to do that. Like, let's take a break. We could take a break today.
Like it's like a vacation.
Yeah.
It's like a stay vacation at home, but
Right.
it's all of us. Like, we're all taking a break from school. Like nobody's going to school. I ain't going to work. We're all just, trying to get it back together because sometimes like my kids are like, I, it's too much. It's too much. It's too much going from class to class. Sometimes they have to wait for me to like get off of talking to a client so I can like run to the kitchen to cut up something for them or, make sure that their snack is there or available. Or sometimes I have to order food because I'm like, I don't have time. I don't want to make lunch. I just want to eat the lunch.
Yeah, it's deep, but I think those are some really good tools. Really good tools. Like, I'm really gonna do what you say. Like, give everybody their own space, check in with them, and kind of, like she said, listen. And when they say, I need a break, give them a break. And if they have something that, like you said, gives them that freedom and makes them feel better on a day to day, kind of let them engage in that.
Right.
Oh, some good tips. Oh, some good tips. You want to do the subscriber question, Sally?
Oh yeah, we had a subscriber ask us, why is it hard to love myself? So we wanted to get an expert's opinion on that question.
Why is it hard to love yourself?
Yeah, that's a deep one.
It is, but chances are it's a lifetime of negative messaging.
Mm.
Ooh.
When you come from a space where you come from a family that may not have validated you and loved you appropriately, when you may have passed through a school system that may not have validated you and um, highlighted the positives. When you come from a situation where you're watching the media and they're constantly pumping you with images to make you feel inadequate, that becomes a almost like your inner voice.
Mm.
That negative thing that plays, that tape deck that plays in your head. And so love becomes foreign to you.
Mm.
And if you're not taught how to love yourself, um, it is hard. And not only that, when you also, because usually when you have that type of issue, you become a people pleaser, and you're looking for a lot of validation outside. Um, and again, that's going to, and you tend to gravitate towards what you know,
Yep.
things that are familiar. And so that, again, people that are unsafe and that are not going to validate you. And so again, that same negative thinking becomes reinforced by your interactions and by those around you.
Well,
Um,
you summing up the whole series. Then we done talked.
It sure is.
um, so all of that to say, um, to get into a loving environment, first you have to start loving yourself. You have to be intentional about loving yourself. Every day we have choices, right? And when we make choices, we can either honor ourselves or honor others
Mm.
in every moment, right? And so there are little things that you can do to begin honoring yourself. Going back to what I said about the plant, right? You walking by a plant and you're like, oh, that's pretty. That would look nice in my house. The simple act of buying that plant is honoring yourself, and when you do that, now every time you walk by the plant, you get a little bit of, I honored myself. You get a little piece of something, right? And so that is how you tangibly build self love, is by doing those little things for yourself. Hey, I like to eat my dinner on China. So eat your dinner on China, right? Like
Drink water out of a wine glass.
exactly. Those little teeny tiny things, as you start to do more of that, you start to build your self-worth, you start to honor yourself more, and you start to love yourself more, right? And so that's one. Two is challenging those negative thoughts about yourself, right? Asking yourself, where did they come from? Like, who says who? Like, that's my favorite question. Says who? Right? Like, when you feel something like, oh, I'm not good enough for that. Says who? Right? Says
Yeah.
who? And when you think about it, like sometimes when you think about it, like that negative tape that you may hear when you say says who, you might hear your mama's voice, right? Because she always has something to say, right? Says who? Mama, well, I'm not trying to do what she say right now, right? So you reject that, right? Says who? Oh, my fifth grade teacher. she's not in my life right now, so I reject that, right?
Mhm.
Says who? Myself. Okay, well, why am I saying that about myself? A deeper question. But when you have those negative thoughts, I always say, ask yourself, like, says who? Says who?
Yes, who told you that? I like this. I like the man.
Yes,
Yo,
says who?
I never thought about that. Yo, be like, who told who?
Says
Wow.
who? And when you start to do that, you start to notice patterns too, right? Of whose voice is actually in your head. Because sometimes the negative tape that's playing in your head is not yours. It could be your bitter ass mama, right?
Mm.
Or, your mean sister, or the people that used to pick on you. You know what I'm saying? You people don't realize that their voice and them fussing at their kids all the time becomes their inner voice. So if
Mhm.
you're super critical of your kids, they're going to be adults with that same super critical voice.
Wow. Hold on, let me write these notes down. Says who? Yes, that's a good one. Subscriber, we hope you heard that. We hope that you be saying that you'll say says who anytime you hear those negative things. That's
Mhm.
crazy.
and
I've
look
never.
for and look for those small opportunities to honor yourself. Buying yourself a plant, lighting a candle. You know what I'm saying? Going to buy you a nice silk set of pajamas, new body wash. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? All of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna. So I got this new like body wash set or whatever. Like my friend, she gave me these little like samples of shea butter. And I was
Oh,
like, oh, they smell so good. It
yeah.
smells so good. I had to go and buy the whole set, right?
Yes.
So it came with body wash, some brown sugar scrub,
Oh,
um, some oil, some shea butter oil, and some shea butter lotion. Girl, I'll be so excited to take a shower. I'll be
you,
like,
you, be, you be sliding off the bed when you jump in.
like I'm going to take a shower. And then I walked by my husband and he rubbed my arm. He was like, "Oh, your skin's so soft." I'm like, "Oh
Yo, that shea butter oil. Ooh.
yeah." Right. So and you see what that does, right? I'm
Mhm.
excited now,
Mhm.
right, to get in the shower to take care of myself.
Yes.
Right. And now my skin is soft and now I'm getting validation from my husband. He don't know nothing about this. He just know like I got some new stuff and
Yeah.
I'm sitting here walking around with a new pep in my step
Yeah.
because I honored myself.
Mm. Girl, I'm gonna have a whole I don't know now I'm gonna have a whole like they're like, what she got up there? What do they call it with all the plants under the little greenhouse? I'm like, she said buy a plant. That's
Yes.
awesome. That's a good that's some good tips. That sums up episode 1 that we did on self-worth. We talked a lot about that self-care and stuff. Like, so it's so good to hear someone that really know what they talk about to kind of validate some of the things that we discussed in episode 1. So now we did a 4-part toxic series, as you know. And a question that we have is, how do I recognize when I'm being toxic? And how do I move past that? So, and see. No, just
Toxic. No, we like to throw toxic around a lot.
a
You
whole lot.
know,
And that's true.
that's
That's why we created a whole series, because it's like, it's the new
yeah,
buzz. It's the new
right.
buzzword.
So the question is, what are we talking about when we're talking about toxic, right?
Yeah.
Definition of toxic. So what is toxic?
Negative traits, negative behaviors, um,
hmm
negative, usually recycled patterns, especially when we had the whole family talk episode. Um, what you
Negative
think, Sal?
relationships. Negative relationships. It's like, once you notice that like everything that's coming out of that relationship is draining you, then that
hmm
becomes toxic. You know what I mean?
Yep.
How do you know when you're the perpetrator? Because we like to always
So
think it's everybody else's fault.
right.
You know?
I feel
Yep.
like
So different things with toxic, right? There's different levels to toxic, and what's toxic for you may not be toxic for me.
mm, that is true.
So first, you have to recognize and know yourself enough to know what toxic is. Because toxic can look like someone giving you the silent treatment or someone cussing you out.
Right.
Toxic can be the friend that's always gaslighting you, telling you like, yeah, girl, go ahead, girl, do you, boo, knowing that you doing something that you shouldn't and got no business doing.
That's Tally on episode hold on, let me fix something. On episode 4, she was talking about her friends like, girl, cheat back. She like, hold on, wait a minute.
I was like,
so
I want monogamy, not polygamy. I want monogamy, not polygamy.
Right. So some of it is knowing like your threshold. And so some of the things that I talk about when you're talking about relationships, there are things like non-negotiables, right? And when you have friendships, like what are some things that you just absolutely won't tolerate, period? You know, and you should have that, and that should be across the board on all your relationships. You know, so for me, one of the things that I have zero tolerance for is disrespectful communication. Like you're not gonna call me out my name. You're not gonna raise your voice at me. You're not gonna talk to me crazy at any point. And when you do, I'm gonna shut it down I'm gonna disengage from the conversation. So whether that be from my kids, from my husband, from my brothers or sisters, like we're not gonna do that. I'm not gonna sit here and I'm not gonna go back and forth with you like that.
So setting that boundary.
Yes, definitely setting that boundary. So knowing what your non-negotiables are, right? And two, one of the things about toxicity is thinking about the type of person that you want to be. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be out here in these streets? You trying to be a thug? Like you trying to be the biggest and the baddest? Well, go ahead. Chances are it's going to take some toxicity to be that.
You know,
so yeah.
it's the looking in the mirror part for me, because I'm going through a real because if we're on a platform telling people all these things, right? It's like you got to look at the hardest part is to look at yourself and say, are you being that example?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I really today was like, whoa, am I being that example? Because I'm telling all these things, saying all these things, but am I living up to the things? We're imperfect.
Right.
Yep. We're constant work, but am I really living up to what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if I expect everybody else to keep that same energy, then I have to keep it on myself too.
Yes.
So that's kind of where I am today. Like, okay, what you got to work on? Do you have negative traits? And then I had my daughter say, that was negative and I didn't like it. And I was like, I had to accept and hear because that's how she feels, right? Yep. So I'm working on it, girl.
Yep. That's the thing. Like, and that's the thing that I think a lot of us has to learn is everything is not personal. Like we take a lot of things so personally, like it's an attack on us and that we're not good enough, that we're somehow flawed and all that. Right? Like we all, like you said, we all have a toxic trait. Like let's put that out there. None of us is perfect. There are some things about us that are toxic. And because we are all different and we all have different experiences, even the best of you may be toxic to someone else.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and when you say that, like that's why you do encounter people that you just don't get along with, and that's okay. You know, something about their whole energy does not sit right with your energy. That's fine. That is completely fine. What makes it toxic is when you act on it, right? When you start treating them a certain way because your energies are not aligned. Like that's where we get into issues with toxicity. You know, I always tell people just because you're angry and got an attitude don't mean you have to be disrespectful. There are healthy ways to communicate, to tell someone that you're angry without going there. And so what I always when I go back to the self-reflection, like I was saying, like how do you want to carry yourself in these streets, right? Because that's how it is. Like me, it's rare that you're gonna have me in the streets cussing somebody out, yelling at somebody. Why? Oh, she disrespected you. So what? She can disrespect me. She can cuss me out all she wants to. But I'm not trying to be out here like that because that's not in my character. So I'm not going to get on her level just because she decided she wanted to get disrespectful. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to disengage from the conversation and
Move
okay,
on, move on.
and move on. Right. And just because you think that I may be soft or I may, let this person walk all over me, okay, you could think that, but that doesn't make it true.
Period, boo. It takes a lot of strength to do
Yep.
that.
Yeah,
More strength,
yeah.
more strength than acting a fool. It's to reserve yourself in a situation where you feel disrespected. We talk about that on our work episode when we had toxic work environments.
Mm-hmm.
To keep your professionalism in an environment where people pushing. You know what I mean?
Because that's what they want. They
Listen,
want that exchange so that they can say, see, look, she's what they thought you were going to be.
Tally, didn't I
But
say that?
but they don't get to determine that. You get to determine how you show up in this world. And yeah, there's some times where we're gonna go there. You're like, yeah, we on, let's go. Like I got time
Right,
today.
right. Like it's on today. Like,
there's
our
gonna be
spirits went to this
times.
moment.
Yes, there's some times where you do have to take it there. There are. But my biggest thing is to take ownership and for you to be in control, right? So if you are in the situation and someone pushes your buttons and you decide like, look, I'm tired of them continuing, because sometimes you do got to yell at people because that's the patterns that they're used to and they don't understand. So you got to so okay, she been bothering me for like weeks now, and like I'm gonna have to take it there, like
I
right.
got a bunch
But
of dudes with me and they really finna take it, man.
exactly, but it's not a blow up, right? You're intentionally deciding like this is how I'm going to behave. That's different than she disrespected you and on a spot you you know what I'm saying, you coming up and you're being ruled by your emotions. That's a different situation than deciding like, yep, I'm tired and I'm going to let her have it now. Especially if you've tried the nice way and all those other things and then you have a blow up. So what I'm always going to tell you is like this is why self-worth and self-confidence and self-love becomes so important, because this is what's going to anchor you in the chaos of life. Knowing who you are, knowing your identity determines your behavior and how you show up in this world.
Yes. That's true. That's true. Mm. You want to go with the next one, Tal?
Well, wait, I wanted to touch on one thing. There's something that I learned from Angie. It was that she taught me, right, that it's best to actually, confront your emotions and not hold it back. One, like not hold it back, because sometimes we hold it back and we get to the point that we like blow up. And so right now she's telling us how we shouldn't blow up the first time, right? We should like sit back, but it doesn't mean to like hold it all in. So I just want to like reiterate that fact, because like there was a time that I was holding it in and she's like, why are you holding it in, girl? Like, you gotta tell them what it is. And I'm just like, because I'm trying to be a better person. She's like, no, you gotta tell them because they're not gonna know, because common sense isn't common. Right, Angie?
No, it's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not common. There's no such thing as common sense. It's just not. It's not.
And
Ooh,
so,
So
break it down.
you know,
okay, so our last viewer question was, how do I know that I'm on the right track for healing?
I think this one is from someone who has come from like really troubled times and have done the physical work of getting themselves into better situations, like better job, better living environment, better, but they are struggling to heal their issues from childhood, their issues of abandonment. And they're like, how do I know, like, what do I need to do?
That I'm on the right track. Yeah, like, like sometimes I can't forgive people. Like that was a major thing. I can't forgive people. So they feel like they're not healing properly because they're not forgiving the person.
My thing would be, have you seen progression? Have you seen progress? Even if it's baby steps, even if it's, I pause now before I cuss you out. Like,
that's important. Because that person really used to cuss people out. And I'm like, you've changed so much. But we have a habit of not seeing the good. We always are like
right.
Like what you said.
And two, it's the mindset, right? Because you're used to thinking like, oh man, something's wrong. When you do something, when you make a mistake, or when you see something that a familiar pattern, and then you just automatically default like, oh, see, here I go again. And it's like, no, no, no. How is this different? Because this is different. It's not here you go again, be same old, like no. And so really, really thinking about looking at the progress that you have made. Okay, I've made progress because I used to like, cuss you out in a minute. Now, yeah, right. What I'm saying, and now I'm not. I used to take everything so personally. My feelings used to be so hurt. You know what I'm saying? I used to cry about everything. You know what I'm saying? But now I don't feel that same way. I used to be an emotional wreck, and now I can manage my emotions. I used to be sad all the time, and now I have at least a day of happiness. Like, you got to measure that. How do you feel? Do you feel like you're healing? Because if you feel like you're healing, then you're healing. And the only way that you know that you are healing is you use it, right? Because a lot of times when we get hurt and we try to say, oh, you put up a boundary or you put up a wall, now you feel like you've healed it and you've moved on, and you haven't. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might have gotten a wound, you might have healed the wound, like you broke your arm has healed, and now you don't know if your arm worked unless you use it again, right?
And if you got them walls up, you're not
using
really,
it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. What I like to tell people is, like, when you are hurt and we put these walls up and you numb out, not only are you numbing out the bad, you're numbing out the good.
Message. That's true.
So if you are feeling numb, that is a worse place than being overly emotional.
We have detached, like kind of detached, so you don't have to. Yeah. And it's a fine balance.
It is, because you're not like, when you're hurting, that is the indication that you have some work to do, right? You have pain triggers. That's why we have pain triggers, to alert our brain like we are in pain. And the reality is that your brain can't distinguish between physical pain and emotional pain. It receives the same stimulus the same.
Not me being a nurse and not knowing that. Not me being a nurse and not knowing that. Wow.
It does. The mind-body connection is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And so there are times where you experience emotional pain and physical pain, and it's stored in your brain in a place where your logical brain doesn't even remember it. And so sometimes there is an element of your emotional reaction, especially when you experience trauma. There's some triggers that you have that it automatically triggers your emotions, and your thinking brain doesn't even realize that that's happening to you.
Okay, right. So one more before we sum up the little healing session. We struggle with forgiveness.
Yeah.
Tally and I, we're gonna use ourselves as examples. We struggle with forgiveness, right, Tal?
Yeah.
You can agree that.
I could agree to that. Like, I struggle with forgiveness. My whole forgiveness is like, well, technically, like I've come to the conclusion that I've asked for forgiveness, but at times, like I'm like asking for forgiveness. It's not even about them, right? And I realize that it's about me. Like I'm asking for forgiveness for how I reacted, but at the same time, I don't care. I don't care what they gotta say. Like, and then I'm like, am I being hypocritical by asking for forgiveness that I don't care about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm more like asking for forgiveness because I know that in that moment I was out of pocket. You know what I mean? But if I could do it all over again, would I do it again? Probably, because they still did what they did. But then I'm like, Crystal, like, are you learning something? And I'm like, let me go back into my corner.
I'm the same. I hold grudges. I say I don't hold grudges, but if you burn me once,
you ain't burning me again.
You'll never get close enough to me. I'll keep you like, okay, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Pray for me, y'all. Pray for me, but don't play with me. Don't just play.
Yep, I get that, and I am very much the same way. I was talking to my husband about this the other day, just realizing like I was like, maybe I do hold grudges. I don't hold grudges, but what I do is like you said, like if you wrong me, like I'm good on you. Like I'm good. Like I'm not but in my opinion, I feel like I've forgiven you. However, like your behavior has removed you from my presence. Like
yes. We actually had a talk with someone. We started this, so like people call us now, you know, and it's like just chat through like things, which is okay because that's what when we put ourselves out there, right? Mm-hmm. And she was saying the same thing. She was just saying that does it mean like saying, okay, I forgive you, and then moving on and being okay with moving on, or should she continue to engage? You know what I mean? And with someone who's wronged her in multiple times.
It goes back to that boundary situation, right? In forgiveness, it's understanding what forgiveness really is and the purpose of forgiveness, right? A lot of times people think that forgiveness is excusing people's behaviors, that it's accepting people's behaviors, that those things, and that's not true. That's not where forgiveness is. Forgiveness is cutting the cord. It's cutting that attachment that you have to that thing, right? And so you're releasing them from having an effect on you, whether they deserve it or not. You're releasing them from having that type of control. Because when you do harbor this unforgiveness against someone, they really do have reign over your emotions and your mood, right? Like why is it, somebody wrongs you and then every time they walk into a room, your whole mood shifts. They don't get to have that type of power over you.
Yes.
Because now, like, you had a whole good day and now you see this person and now you in a sour mood. Your whole day is ruined and they going off sashaying about their business like they don't even care, right? They always say like unforgiveness is like drinking poison, right? And hoping that it's going to kill the other person.
Ooh. Or if you don't tell oh, that's a good one.
Right. So always, as for me, I would say always think of forgiveness as something for you. It's not for the other person. You know what I'm saying? It's something to give yourself resolve and closure. And also, there still can be hurt when you choose to forgive someone. Like just because you choose to forgive someone doesn't mean that the hurt and pain that they caused and inflicted on you is just going to go away. You know what I'm saying? Think about like intense situations, you know what I'm saying? Like a sexual violation or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like you can forgive the perpetrator, but that hurt and stuff, you gotta do something with it. And for me, in my personal opinion, you can't have true forgiveness without justice. If you don't feel like you have got some sense of justice attached to that act, it's going to be hard for you to forgive.
That's true.
So even if the justice is I'm going to let it go and let God, then that's your sense of justice, right? if it's this person is not going to go to, I need this person to go to jail, like then I can free. Like, so in my opinion, it's really hard to forgive someone truly without a sense of justice.
Mm,
That's a
That's
good one.
good. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was. So we hope this isn't the last time you come to see us because this
Oh,
was so good.
We learned a
I
lot of
like talking
things.
with y'all. Yes.
Yes. So we gotta plug the cookies because baby, I got my order last night of cookies from Crumb Fusion. Y'all, we're
Them
gonna link.
snickerdoodles is fire. Them
Yeah.
snickerdoodles. Oh Lord.
I got the strawberry shorties and they were bussin'. We're going to put the link in the description box for Crumb Fusion. And we're also going to put the link in the description box for your children's book, Arise, My Beautiful Child.
Mhm.
My
Mm-hmm.
beautiful child. Yes.
Yes. Oh yeah,
And
and you can put arisebeautiful.com too if you want to coach. Because
oh,
I'm
yes, yes.
accepting
And
clients.
yes, she's accepting clients. Like we stated in her introduction, she is a licensed mental health counselor and self-worth coach. So if you're struggling out there, we're gonna put Angie's link, all three of her links in the description box. Take advantage of some good self-help. It's good to listen in to us, but to talk to someone who know what they doing, who know what they doing, know what they doing. We all need that, especially during this time, like we talked about with the pandemic. Tally, you want to close it up for us?
Yeah, I want to thank you for coming through for us. Also, like I want to like speak great things about this woman. I think that she is a asset to you in her field, and she is really great at what she does. She will help you through anything that you need to talk through, especially when it comes to self-worth and loving yourself. She is great at, showing you who you are sometimes when you forget who you are. So, Angie, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming
Oh,
through.
thank
We love
you.
you.
We love
All
you. We love you.
right.
Support,
Thank
guys.
you.
Support. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
That was such a wonderful talk that we had today. And it was only right that we follow up our talk with some affirmations. I had the pleasure of ordering cookies from Crumb Fusion and Jeanette's company, and got a nice little affirmation sack. If y'all can see, I don't know if y'all can see. It's hard to see. Um, and I had the opportunity to pull some of these affirmations, and I thought it was a good idea. Tally and I, actually, Tally said, "Ooh, I like that." So I'm going to read some. Love heals me when I feel unloved. I will choose to love myself and connect with others. Chang-a-ling-a-ling. That's messaging.
Right,
I am overflowing with love and have an abundance of love to give.
right there. That's tap in on that one
Tap
because
it.
you got to think about it like this. We've gone through our self-worth episodes where we talked about how important it is to value yourself and to put yourself up there in a pedestal that you respect your value. And all this ties into the people that love me. You know what I mean? Like whoever loves me is going to love the way I love them. So they're going to understand that it's reciprocated and I should not be accepting less than what I'm worth. So it all comes back full circle now.
How about this one? In difficulty, I will trust myself and my ability to make good decisions. Ooh. Love. Oh, this one touches me. Love requires vulnerability and safety. When I am safe emotionally, I will practice vulnerability with others. I'm still working on that, y'all. That's a work in progress. I can admit that today. Every challenge and difficult time I have experienced has equipped me with the tools to overcome the obstacles of today.
Wow, that's deep.
Message.
Yeah.
Like that's that AOL, that's that noise that the AOL message used to make. I will engage more with the people who have demonstrated they love me more. That's that energy. Put the time into the ones that you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you won't feel like your time was wasted. That's a good. If someone mistreats me, I can choose to disengage or set boundaries without explanation.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Because we have recent conversation over this. I
Yes.
feel it's really sometimes people don't deserve an explanation. Sometimes you just need that break. Don't forget.
Sometimes in the words of my grandmama MJ, I don't even tell her full name MJ, she know who she is. Sometimes it just bees that way.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And the last one, I am worthy of love, happiness, and respect.
I love that one.
And
That's
you know
my
what?
favorite one.
That goes for all three of y'all. You know what I mean?
Right.
You gonna put some respect on my name.
That's right.
So thanks again for tuning in with us. We ain't done. I know they ain't think we was finished.
Right.
I know
We're
they
gonna
ain't think we
come
was
up with more stuff.
Stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for riding. Thanks for loving. Y'all already know what to do. Check that description box for everything that you need to know that involves the Inner Voice with TallyNuNu.
Hit the like, subscribe, comment down below.
Yes, and share with your friends. This is some good stuff. Like, let's go. What's the problem?
It's not like y'all doing anything. Like, stop.
It's not like you sitting on the house on the couch anyway.
Right.
You better be.
Nah, we're just playing. But a special shout out to all our friends who have reposted our videos, who have come through to show love, who have actually took the time out to watch our podcast and give us some feedback. We love you all. Thank you for all the support. Thank you, Kenya. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you,
Rosemary.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Clyde.
Yes, my husband. High Vibrations, aka Lisette. Thank you, Breezy, on the ones, twos. Stephanie, that's the rider, girl. I know you in the comments, girl.
Right.
And if we miss you, we love you. And if we can't think of you, then that means you need to show up a little bit more. We here. All right, guys. Bye.
Love you. Bye.